I was still holding the pie when my father told me not to come home again. It was warm, pumpkin her favorite. I'd baked it the night before using Mom's old recipe, the one with extra nutmeg and that weird half-teaspoon of maple syrup she always insisted on. I drove 3 hours in fog to bring it to her like I did every year. It was Thanksgiving. I was home. Or I thought I was. We hadn't even said grace yet. The turkey hadn't been carved. The stuffing was steaming in the crystal dish my mother only brought out once a year. And I was still standing, still smiling, still holding that pie when Dad said, "Give back the $50,000, Rachel." Or, "Don't bother coming home again." At first I thought I'd misheard him, or that it was some kind of tasteless joke. Dad wasn't a man prone to theatrics, and Thanksgiving wasn't a time for drama, not in our family, or at least not until that night, but no one laughed. Lisa sat across the table, hands folded in her lap like she was at a funeral. David looked at the tablecloth. Even Mom, sweet, soft-spoken Mom, refused to meet my eyes. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. The pie tray rested in my palms, suddenly heavier than it should have been. I glanced at it stupidly as if it could explain what was happening. "Excuse me," I said. Dad's jaw tightened. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." "What exactly are you accusing me of?" Lisa finally looked up. Her eyes were red mascara clinging to the corners like she'd been crying for hours, but her voice was clear. "Mom's account. $50,000 disappeared last month, right after you helped her set up online banking." My mouth opened, but no sound came out. It was true that I'd helped Mom with her accounts. She'd been nervous about going paperless, something about not trusting the cloud. So I'd sat with her on a Sunday afternoon, walked her through the app, the passwords, the security questions. She even wrote everything down in a little notepad we kept in the kitchen drawer. That was 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks! Now they were telling me that was the moment I stole from her. "Are you serious?" I whispered. "You think I took Mom's money?" David finally spoke, his voice stiff like it hurt to say the words. We didn't want to believe it. But the bank confirmed the withdrawals were done online. No one else had access. No one else. Except me. I looked at Mom. She didn't flinch, didn't nod, didn't shake her head, just picked up her napkin and pressed it to her mouth like she might be sick. That's when it hit me. The pie, the traffic, the yearly ritual, none of it mattered. I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was a suspect. I set the pie down very gently on the edge of the counter. The tin clicked faintly against the granite. I picked up my coat from the back of the chair where I'd laid it earlier. I didn't speak. "You have until the end of the week," Dad said quietly behind me. "Then we go to the lawyer." I didn't cry in the car. I didn't scream or curse or hit the steering wheel like they do in movies. I just drove coat, still half-buttoned, the pie, still sitting untouched on the kitchen counter behind me. The streets were quiet, lit by porch lights and paper turkeys taped to windows. It was Thanksgiving night, and the whole town smelled like gravy and cinnamon and peace. Except me. I checked into the same roadside inn I always passed on the way into town, but never had a reason to stop at. The clerk didn't ask why I needed a room on a holiday. I was thankful for that small mercy. The room smelled like old carpet and microwave popcorn. I kicked off my boots and sat on the edge of the bed, hands still shaking. I was 34 years old, a senior forensic accountant, trusted with millions in corporate audits, and my own parents thought I'd stolen from them. The worst part, I wasn't even surprised. Not entirely. There had been signs, little things. The way Lisa would roll her eyes when Mom bragged about my promotions. The way Dad had once asked, "Don't you think it's time to settle down? You know, live a little like my career wasn't real life." Even last Christmas when I'd offered to cover the cost of a new roof for the house, David had muttered something about me trying to buy loyalty. I thought they were just joking. I thought we were still family. I lay back on the comforter and stared at the ceiling. I tried to replay the day Mom asked me to help with her bank account, every tap, every login, every password reset. Had I missed something? Had someone else seen the notebook we kept in the drawer? The drawer. It was always unlocked. Anyone could have opened it. Lisa still lived at home off and on, depending on her situation. David had a key to the house. I'd been the one to walk Mom through the setup, yes, but that didn't make me the only one who knew. Still, they'd believed it. Believed I'd waited for Mom to get sick just to take her money. $50,000. As if I needed it. As if I would ever. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. We didn't want it to come to this. But you made it hard to trust you. No happy Thanksgiving. No hope you're okay. Just that. As if I'd broken something. As if I was the one who owed them an apology. I turned the phone face down. At work, I spend my days untangling hidden embezzlements, shell companies, and fake invoices. I know what it looks like when money disappears and when someone makes it look like someone else's fault. And right now, someone had made me their fall girl. I stared at the ceiling until the lights blurred. If they wanted to treat me like the criminal in the family, maybe it was time I started investigating like one. The next morning, I woke early. No alarm, just instinct. Years of chasing corporate fraud had taught me one thing. Money never really disappears. It just gets redirected. The trick is knowing where to look first and who benefits. I poured myself a cup of bitter lobby coffee and opened my laptop on the motel desk. My firm had recently been investigating a pattern of elder financial abuse retirees with modest savings accounts that suddenly drained in 3 withdrawals, each just below the federal reporting limit. It wasn't just one bank, but one kept coming up more than the others. Greenwell Mutual, Mom's bank. I hadn't told my family that I was involved in the investigation. It was confidential, technically, but I had clearance to review the transaction data internally, and I knew exactly who to ask. I sent a quick message to Theo, the compliance officer overseeing our current case. Just a name, a date range, and a location. Within an hour, I had what I needed: timestamps, withdrawal amounts, teller logs. 3 withdrawals from my mother's account spaced 5 days apart. First, $20,000. Second, $15,000. Third, $15,000. Each one done in person, not online. That was the first crack. They'd accused me of using online banking, said I was the only one with access. But if the money was taken in person, it wasn't me. I clicked the attached security footage link. Low resolution, but clear enough. The first video loaded. Greenwell Mutual, October 10th, to 13 p.m. A young woman approached the counter, nervously glancing over her shoulder. Blonde ponytail. Gray hoodie, large sunglasses. At first, I thought maybe someone hired a proxy. A stranger paid to impersonate Mom. But then the girl stepped closer to the camera, pulled down her mask to speak to the teller. Lisa. Even with the grainy feed, I knew that face. I'd babysat that face. Watched it blow out birthday candles and cry over failed boyfriends. She was fidgeting, tapping her fingers on the counter. She handed over what looked like Mom's ID and signed something. Her handwriting hadn't changed since high school. I leaned back in my chair, the motel light flickering above me. They hadn't just stolen the money. They'd planned it, thought through the timing, waited until I helped Mom go digital, then used that as cover to frame me. I opened the second video. October 15th, same branch. This time it was David. No disguise, no nervous energy, calm, confident. He joked with the teller, signed off like he owned the account. Third video, Lisa again. Same hoodie, different sunglasses. The arrogance of it made my skin crawl. But there was still a missing piece. How had they gotten access to Mom's ID and account info? Then I remembered something. 2 weeks before I helped Mom set up the app, she'd had outpatient tests at the hospital. Nothing serious, just preliminary scans. Lisa had volunteered to stay overnight with her. Mom's purse had been with her the whole time. Her checkbook, her bank statements, her driver's license. That's where it started, but it didn't end there. I checked the metadata from the account setup. The first login after I left town had come not from Mom's phone, but from a tablet linked to the home Wi-Fi. Same IP address Lisa used when she streamed Netflix. And the OTP one-time password was sent to an alternate email I hadn't registered. I looked it up. The recovery phone number belonged to David. They weren't just sloppy, they were arrogant. They thought no one would question it. Not if the successful daughter was the obvious culprit. Not if the rest of the family spoke with one voice. I closed the laptop. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It wasn't a moment of desperation or a borrowed amount gone wrong. It was fraud, and they had used my love for Mom as the smokescreen. I zipped the laptop bag closed and picked up the phone. Not to call the police. Not yet. I called my office instead. Asked Theo for something specific, the printouts of the teller signatures. I'd need them for comparison. Then I slid open my suitcase and pulled out a slim black folder, the kind I used for courtroom presentations. If they wanted a villain in the family, I'd show them what it looked like when the villain kept receipts. I didn't call ahead. I drove back Monday afternoon just as the sunlight hit that golden slant it always did between Halloween and Christmas. The kind of light that used to make the house feel like home. Not today. The driveway was full. David's SUV, Lisa's compact, Mom's old sedan. No guests. Just family. I parked at the curb. Sat for a moment, engine-ticking hands resting on the leather folder in my lap. The one that held every receipt, every timestamp, every lie they thought no one would notice. Then I stepped out, walked up the porch steps, and let myself in. The house smelled like chicken broth and rosemary. The kitchen lights were on. I could hear the low murmur of conversation, the clatter of silverware, a laugh that didn't belong to me anymore. I found them all in the kitchen. Lisa was perched on the counter, coffee mug in hand, legs swinging like she was 13 again. David leaned against the fridge, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Mom stood by the sink, drying dishes with slow, practiced movements. Dad was stirring something on the stove. They looked up as I entered. And everything stopped. Nobody said anything. I walked past them to the island and placed the folder on the smooth wooden surface where we used to roll out cookie dough. Then I opened it. "You believed I stole from Mom," I said quietly. "Let me show you what really happened." The air changed, subtle like before a storm. I pulled out the first photo, a still from the bank's security footage. Lisa in sunglasses leaning over a teller's counter signing a form. October 10th, $20,000. Not online. Not me. No one moved. Not even Lisa. The second photo showed David smiling in a navy sweater handing over a check. October 15th, $15,000. I could feel my voice trembling at the edges, not from anger, but restraint. These were not strangers. These were the people I'd grown up with. Lisa's fingers gripped her mug tighter. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I laid down the teller slips. Same branch, same signatures. I matched them against your handwriting, Lisa, from that note on the fridge last week. A beat passed. Then Lisa finally spoke. Her voice was thinner than I remembered. You went through our stuff?" I tilted my head almost gently. "You went through Mom's." Mom reached for the documents, eyes scanning the print, her hands unsteady. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, almost pleading. "But the bank, they said it was done online." That's what they thought I said. But the withdrawal itself wasn't. The online access came later from a tablet connected to your Wi-Fi. The account was set to recover through an email tied to David's phone number. A silence settled over the kitchen like falling snow. Dad stopped stirring. Lisa looked away. David stared at the floor like he might find a different truth down there. "You'd let me think my daughter stole from me," Mom whispered. She wasn't looking at anyone in particular, maybe not even me. "You told me not to come home," I said, quieter still. "And you never asked if I did it." That was what stung. Not the accusation, not even the threat of lawyers, the absence of the question. Lisa finally looked at me, her face twisted not with guilt, but bitterness. "You always get everything. The job, the praise, the respect. I just wanted to level the field." I studied her for a long moment. She looked older than last week. Or maybe I was finally seeing her for the first time. "You didn't level anything I said. You burned it." David cleared his throat. His voice was flat. "She'll be fine, Mom. Rachel makes more than all of us combined." It wasn't personal. I let out a slow breath, fighting the chill crawling up my spine. It's always personal when it's family. I watched Mom sit slowly at the table folder still open before her. Her hands rested in her lap, palms up like she didn't know what to do with them. Dad finally spoke. "Rachel, what are you going to do?" I met his eyes. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like the child in the room. "I'm not pressing charges, but I've sent the file to the family attorney. You can decide what to do with it." He nodded once. Tired, older than I remembered. I zipped the folder shut. My hands moved on their own muscle memory from years of meetings and investigations. This time it felt final. You told me not to come back unless I returned the money I said. I didn't take the money, but I brought the truth. I waited, just long enough for the words to land. Then I turned. Rachel, Mom's voice broke. I paused at the doorway. "Thanksgiving's over," I said. "You all made sure of that." I left the house without another word. Didn't take the folder. Didn't take the pie. Just my keys. And whatever part of me still believed they would have chosen me. I didn't drive home right away. I sat in my car outside the house for a while, watching the kitchen window from the curb. No one followed me out. The lights stayed on. Lisa's laughter didn't return. David didn't open the door to say anything. No one came running down the driveway to apologize. And that more than anything told me everything I needed to know. Back in Boston, the city felt sharper, quieter. I returned to work as if nothing had happened, but I wasn't quite the same. I stopped calling on Sunday nights. Didn't check the family group chat. Left the voicemail icon blinking on my phone for 3 full days before I listened to it. It was from Mom. "Rachel, we were wrong. I know that now. I didn't want to believe it. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive us. I just wanted you to know. The house feels empty." She hung up before the minute mark. 2 weeks passed. Then a letter came, real paper, real envelope. Inside was a photo. Me, Lisa, and David, ages 6, 8, and 10, sitting on the back porch in mismatched Halloween costumes. I was the scarecrow. Lisa had tinfoil wings. David was just covered in red paint. On the back of the photo was a single line. "We didn't know how much we would miss you until you were gone." No signature. David didn't reach out. Lisa neither. But according to a cousin who still lived nearby, they both moved out of the house. Mom stopped speaking to them, said she needed space. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't offer to come back. Instead, I made something new. I started a weekend seminar at the Community College Financial Protection for Older Adults. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt like something I could control. One Saturday after class, an older woman came up and said, "I wish I had a daughter like you." I smiled politely. Didn't say what I was thinking. So did mine. Once. December came and went without a tree, without a call, without the annual ornament exchange I used to plan. There's a kind of grief no one prepares you for, the kind that comes not from death, but from the realization that the people you love chose someone else's version of you over your own. And once they made that choice, they couldn't take it back. I still keep the folder. It's not in my office, not on my desk. Just in a drawer near the bookshelf under old tax returns and a copy of the mortgage. I haven't opened it since that night. I don't need to, because the facts haven't changed, and neither have I.